Hi, I'm Andrew Wasson. Thanks for joining me for my weekly guitar blog. It's June 14th, 2015, and this week we're going to do a lesson covering a minor pentatonic position method. Now, this week's question was sent in from Henry. He's out in Fort Mill, South Carolina, and he wrote in with this email. I wanted to know if you could make a lesson covering diatonic minor pentatonic scale use. To me, this is a really cool jazz fusion sound that a lot of the jazz and funk players are using. I know that these diatonic minor pentatonic scales can be applied by fingerboard position, but I'd like to get a proper explanation of why they work and also a way that I can start studying them. From Henry in Fort Mill, South Carolina, USA. Well, hey, thanks for writing in, Henry. This is a really cool principle of how the minor pentatonic scale can work within a key to compose melodies or for improvisation, and it all basically requires a pretty good basic working knowledge of the shapes of the pentatonic scale and how the steps of harmony interact and how diatonic scales relate to the key center. For some of you, this might be kind of complicated. For others, if you're somewhat familiar with diatonic harmony, it's going to be fairly straightforward. So if you're not familiar with this stuff, I would highly suggest watching some videos covering diatonic harmony. I'll place the link to one of those that I've done in the description box for this video here. So let's just get things started with a quick theory lesson, and then we'll zoom in on the guitar fingerboard and play through a melody that applies this minor pentatonic position method. In looking at this minor pentatonic position method, I wanted to get all the notes in front of us, do a screen theory capture lesson here, and just go through all the information with you so you understand how it all connects together. Now, for this lesson, what we're going to do is we're going to choose a primary scale, primary key here of A minor. And once we do that, we are going to work diatonically in that key, which means we're going to use scales that share all the same notes, and that full scale of A natural minor would contain all natural tones right through the scale's letter names. And the first thing that we would want to do is understand that we are within the key. This method is diatonic, so we are using the notes of the prescribed key that we're working within. And then we can take other pentatonics and use those scale patterns into different positions on the neck, slide them around, and create different kinds of colors over top of a backing track or a loop that we have for practice. Now, what I would suggest when you go and do this is to start off with the chord of the tonic of the key. So that means using an A minor chord. Create a loop track, a jam track of that, and then go into another degree, either the 4th degree or the 5th. And you can see here that's our system, is we can take the primary scale pentatonic, and we could use that, or we could use the 4th degree pentatonic or the 5th degree. So in our case of our key here of A minor, that gives us either an A minor pentatonic, D minor, or E minor pentatonic. And my first suggestion, though, is to not use the pentatonic of the root chord. So I would avoid this one. It's really tied in and it's very strong, so it could make your move into these other ones of D minor and E minor a little bit difficult. So my suggestion would be to start maybe perhaps on the D minor or the E minor and use those first over top of a loop track that has an A minor chord recorded on it. And then after you've done that and you've had some chance to improvise or jam or compose some melody, then later on you could go back and then start using the root pentatonic scale. But I would not start with that root pentatonic, because it's going to be really difficult to go away from that and into the other scales for practice. Now, another thing that you could do is record other chords. So if you start by recording an A minor, which is the primary scale's chord, root chord, maybe move away from that, do something like record a D minor chord next, and then practice playing E minor pentatonic over top of the D minor chord. So again, these notes are going to be operating in kind of a different manner, and you'll be getting some different colors out of that. So you can mess around with that sound. You could record an E minor chord and then try and play an A minor pentatonic over top of that. But all of these processes work the same. They're all interrelated and using all the same tones out of the primary scale. So they all do work, but you may find that your phrasing suffers as you try to play some of the other pentatonic scales on whichever root chord you decide to use as a loop track or jam track in the background. So I'll forewarn you of that first. Now anyway, this is sort of a good introduction to all this, but it is just a lot of talk right now, so let's go to the guitar. I've got a melody that I created. I have also taken the A minor chord of our discussion here. I've got that in a loop track, and I'm going to take the melody, I'm going to transpose it through some of the other pentatonics and give you a chance to hear how a melody can get, you know, superimposed over top of these different sounds, either based out of A minor or D minor or E minor. But the backing track on the loop progression on the loop pedal that I have, it's just going to be centered around an A minor. So you get a chance to hear how everything is basically interacting here. So let's go to that next. Well, the first sound that I'll work with will be the minor pentatonic scale based off of the 5th step of the key, which is E minor. Now the background harmony that I'm going to apply over this sound is going to be the primary scale's root chord, which is of course the A natural minor's A minor chord. And to set up this sound, I'm going to play a static A minor chord riff off of my loop pedal, and then over that I'm going to start off by playing a melodic idea based within the E minor pentatonic scale. That melodic idea is going to sound like this. Okay, so I'm going to fire up the loop pedal. I'm going to play that melody a little bit, and then I'm just going to kind of improvise around with E minor pentatonic, give you a chance to hear how it sounds. Well, next I'm going to shift gears into the sounds of the 4th step. That's off the primary chord of the key. The 4th step would be D minor. And on the loop pedal, I'm just going to keep that same loop running our primary chord of A minor. But over the loop, I'm going to be using a transposed version of our initial melody from that first example. Of course, you know, this time it's going to be using the D minor pentatonic scale. And I'm going to have that going, you know, I'll plan to play that a little bit. And I think what I'm also going to do is, you know, I'll play some jams and just do a little bit of improvising, but I'm going to keep kind of coming back over to that melody and, you know, keep injecting it in. And I think there's a couple things that I need to warn you about as you progress through these different scale patterns. You know, the first thing is that as you switch into the different pentatonic scales, initially it's going to be kind of weird, you know, it's going to feel off base because your ear is going to be, you know, focused in on one type, you know, like let's say we just finished that E minor and now you're transitioning it over to the D minor. Your ear is going to be all messed up because it's going to feel like you want to keep that E minor pentatonic as a home sound, you know, for everything, but, you know, you need to shift everything down a whole step, start working in the world of the new position, you know, the D minor position now, you know, so we got this. And that's going to be sort of our foundational melody. So what I'm saying is, you know, as you start practicing in getting some improvising or melody building or whatnot, keep coming back to some kind of home riff, some kind of main idea so that you are focused in on something. If you start losing your pattern of thought, you know, your train of thought starts going all, you know, disjointed, you can at least come back into the melody again, pull you back together, and then you can start improvising some more. So I'm going to fire up that loop pedal. I'm going to come in with this D minor version of our melody. And then I'm going to kind of break away from it, do some improv, come back to it, break away, come back to it. Okay, here we go. Well, next I'm going to head into the root of the key, which will of course be our A minor. This is a very strong sound, really anchors the notes located in to the key, and you know, it's directly associated into the minor pentatonic scale of the root chord, so that's going to be A minor pentatonic scale. I'm going to take the same melody that we've been working on, I'm going to transpose it over into our key of A minor pentatonic here. I'm going to have that as the main theme, of course, again. And this time, though, everything's going to be right straight into that chord. So we're playing A minor chord. We're doing A minor pentatonic. Everything's right inside the key. This is probably something that you're the most familiar with if you've done a little bit of improvising so far with pentatonic. This is also why I had said earlier during the theory portion when we did that screen capture video that you want to end with this scale. You don't want to start with this one. You want to get to this one last, because those other ones are going to throw you into some different directions and some different colors, and then this one's going to bring you right back diatonic, right into the scale off of the root again. It's going to be really easy for you. So I'm going to just do this mainly for the sake of, you know, getting you to hear this same melody transposed over, you know, into the A minor pentatonic, and give you a chance to hear how this sounds. And I'm going to just kind of improvise a little bit around it too. Keep coming back in and around it and so forth, just like we've done with the other one. So here we go. Well, performing diatonic scale ideas is something that can be done in several different styles of music. However, styles like jazz and jazz fusion and some forms of funk and soul and R&B can really cater to this particular sound, especially when we have different chords being performed as a background harmony. For example, you know, if instead of performing that A minor chord as our looped jam track chord, say instead we played that 4th degree chord, which was D minor, and we looped that chord on a jam track, we'd get a really cool effect from performing the 5th degree minor pentatonic scale, which would be that based off of E over top of that D minor. And, you know, we'd get the same effect if we actually had kept our primary chord there, our A minor, as our jam track loop, you know, and performed over that a B minor pentatonic scale. Now, what we could do to make things even more interesting is go a step further and add any unique tones that go and reach as extensions. And, you know, when we do play a B minor, we do get an F sharp over top of that A minor chord. So what you might want to do is create an A minor 6 as your loop chord, and then that brings in the F sharp, and, you know, that's gonna That's going to really hook in that B minor a little better. So there's lots of interesting possibilities here, and they're pretty far-reaching with this idea. And you know, they can be a lot of fun to practice and compose with, and especially improvise with as well. So anyway, that's about all the time I have for today. As always, I want to say thanks for watching. Please subscribe to the channel, and if at all possible, consider a small donation to help this guitar lessons project that I got here. Otherwise, have yourself a great week, and I'll catch up with you next time. Bye for now. I'd like to take a moment to mention another guitar video lesson project I've started. It's a unique guitar lesson approach that I'm doing online, and it's not like anything I've done before. Best of all, it's 100% free. I've called this approach Guitar Micro Lessons, and they're a great way to learn a few new licks or riffs or chord shapes each week. Now, these guitar micro lessons are quick and easy to learn from. They're very short, with each lesson running between only 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes in length. They're published to YouTube from Monday to Thursday on my other Guitar Blog Update YouTube channel, and you can either subscribe to that channel to guarantee getting each new episode, or just visit the channel whenever it's convenient for you and check out the new micro lessons in the playlist on the Guitar Blog Update channel's homepage. If you'd like to learn the modes and really get an understanding how they can be used musically to write songs, play a solo, or compose melody lines, then you're in luck. My ebook, Using the Major Scale Modes, is a comprehensive manuscript outlining exactly how modes are used both in harmony and to compose melodic ideas. Over 50 pages of scale patterns, example progressions, and music theory all create one of the most comprehensive methods on the modes available. Using the Major Scale Modes is available for instant download in the View Our Products area at creativeguitarstudio.com.